Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, and welcome to 2018, gang. So how was your first day back in the office? Yeah, I know, it's a tough one, isn't it? First day back after the holiday season. Now, looking back over that holiday period, I suspect that many of you listening had spent time with your family and your friends. But my spidey senses also tells me that blockchain or crypto investments cropped up in conversation around dinner tables all over the world. But I am going to be a party pooper here and say don't get carried away by investing in technology-based projects that you don't understand or might never even see the light of day or be successful, and just get blinded by wanting to chase an opportunity or for your crypto of choice to go to the moon. My biggest advice to everyone listening this year is to do your own research and educate yourselves, and equally those around you, about how and why blockchain will transform absolutely everything. It's incredibly exciting. The fact that we're talking about removing legacy technology and all those frustrations and pain points that we've accepted over the years, and building a next generation of internet that's more efficient and completely secure. This is exciting stuff, not Lambos. Now, a great example of this is a company called Bluzelle, who seem to be doing the right thing. Now, Bluzelle is a decentralized database that came about through the blockchain application work they did for enterprises such as HSBC. Essentially, they learned firsthand the problems of existing cloud-centered databases and how they weren't ideal for a world powered by blockchain apps. This was the catalyst that allowed them to evolve their tech and produce a decentralized database. And as a result, they're building a true crypto economy that needs a token for the ecosystem to grow, and have a strong belief that blockchain can distribute power and control to the masses. And that's why they've decided to raise their funds that way. So this was my kind of language, so buckle up and hold on tight, because I invite you to allow me to beam your ears wherever you're listening and transport you all the way to Singapore, where Bluzelle CEO Pavel Bains is waiting to speak with us about what the next generation of the internet is going to look like. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
My name is Pavel Bains. I am the co-founder and CEO of Bluzelle, which is a decentralized database platform based on blockchain technologies.
Now, for those that are just beginning to understand blockchain is more than just another buzzword, can you just help set the scene and advise how you actually believe that blockchain will transform almost everything, and also what the next generation of the internet will actually look like in your eyes?
Yeah, so when we got into it, it was 2014 when I just heard, okay, what's this Bitcoin thing? What's it all about? You know, just like everybody else, you know, read the white paper and got enamored. More not on the currency, but on the technology. And then I started reading more about the applications and started going to, specific like meetup groups in Vancouver. And that's when you just go, wow, this thing is amazing. Like if this thing does what it does, it is the next version of the internet. It, how I saw it of, the decentralization aspects. It can solve a lot of problems in terms of the scalability and security. And the new type of app, like basically these trustless applications that you can build, just blew me away. And so I thought that's going to apply to everything. And I have to be part of this now because I was almost too young when the internet came. And then, mobile kind of passed by, went really fast. So I was like, if this is the next evolution, we've got to get on this thing.
And do you think that anybody outside of the tech circles that both you and I frequent, do you think they're waking up to that world of blockchain yet? Or they're just starting to learn more about it, do you think?
I still think it's a lot of them, they're hearing about it, but they don't know the actual applications and what can be done. I think in the mainstream, if anything, it's Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies that are now leading back. It's funny is because, when we moved to Singapore a year ago in 2016, you'd go to these enterprise events, we'd pitch blockchain, and, you'd have all these enterprises want to do stuff. But you couldn't even say the word Bitcoin there. Like people were it was like, they even referred to it as a B word, like you want to have a clear separation. But now it's almost coming back together again, and Bitcoin is leading. But 2016 was a year of blockchain, I'd say. Blockchain does this, blockchain does that. Now 2017 has been going back to the other side of the cryptos and Bitcoin and what that can lead to with blockchain.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there just chasing Lambos as well, not bothered about the technology, but we're not going to give them the attention that they want.
Yeah, that's. I think that's the part that concerns me the most,
Yeah.
is because we like the technology, like to talk about it. All our materials that we have out, we're always just pitching the tech, and then even when even in our community, when all the questions are diverted more to tokens and whatever can happen as opposed to the product questions, we liked answering those product questions, right?
Yeah.
That's how we did all that work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I believe that Bluzelle fills a key gap in decentralized infrastructure, which basically offers a database for applications that are built on blockchain technology. But can you expand on this and why, if data is the new gold, why it needs to be stored and organized somehow, and why there's no point in using outdated technology to do so?
Well, so I'll give you a little backstory of how it came, because then it connects to it.
Yeah.
So just over a year ago, my CTO said to me that, hey, what would be a really good application to the blockchain? And I said, what? He goes, a decentralized database. And I said, okay, tell me how. And he's telling me, and at that time we're just struggling to get enterprise work for the insurers and banks in Singapore and Asia, and pitching them our other middleware technology. I'm like, you know what? We have trouble enough doing this. Now we're going to build another technology that these guys might use. Like, it's what we kept saying is like bringing guns to a knife fight. And so we kind of shelved it. About 6 months later, we're using our technology, and we're building a KYC solution for the banks, on Ethereum, built a private blockchain. And then part of it, you had to store the data of the customer somewhere. And but we had to do it in a traditional centralized way. So we had to go take, an existing database, I would say in the simplest terms, blockchainify it so it can work with our decentralized app and see what can be done. And my CTO said to me there, he goes, remember that idea I had about a decentralized database? And I said, yeah. He goes, that would have helped us here. Because if we're building a decentralized application, the data should be stored in a decentralized way. And then from there, I said, okay, I get it. It's like, now it meant something because we saw a real pain point and we went through it. So we said, if we're going through that, then others are going to do that. So we said we should evolve our tech so it does a decentralized database for everybody.
And you've done just that. I believe that Bluzelle's technology has already been used to streamline the otherwise painful know-your-own customer processes for a consortium of global banks, including HSBC. But can you offer any use cases that will help listeners visualise how Bluzelle's technology is already tackling customer processes and those pain points that we can all experience at the moment? Yeah,
so, this isn't using our database, but it's a good way to explain the blockchain to all listeners, and as you said, to the mainstream, is let's just take KYC. You go to a bank, and let's say you go to HSBC. You say, hey, you know what? I want to open an account. They go, great. I need your proof of income, proof of residence. I need XYZ, all this documentation, and okay, we're going to take that. They do their compliance checks, and that could take weeks. Then they onboard you. Now, if all the banks kind of work together on a shared ledger, I could walk into HSBC, they collect it once, validate it, verify it, which all the other banks also agreed to the smart contract and the blockchain process. So once I'm validated on the network, it's almost like Pavel's ID is an asset on their own private blockchain. Now I decide that, hey, OCBC has a better credit card, I'm going to go there. I show up, show them my ID, and they say, hey, they look us up on their consortium KYC shared blockchain. Hey, Pavel, you're already on here. We're going to send you a one-time password. Do you give us consent? I give it to them, and now all the information they had before, they got the whole audit trail, everything of that I was already verified by one of the people on the network. If I decide, they go, hey, do you still work at, let's say Microsoft? No, actually, I work at Amazon now. I give them the documentation or they validate it. Now, all the banks on that network have my latest information. So that saves not only the customer a bunch of time for getting onboarded, but the banks themselves, it's improved their entire processes on the back end as well.
Now, if we were to take a look under the hood, so to speak, as well, can you tell me a little bit more about how Bluzelle works and also how it differs by implementing swarming technologies and how that actually impacts performance, reliability and scalability?
What I've been using this is a good example on a real base level is, let's just say Bluzelle, everybody knows video games, PlayStations. You've got hundreds of millions of PlayStations networked around the world. Now, the gamer basically pays, $60, $70 for the game, and what's happening is the game publisher, one who created the game, let's say Electronic Arts with FIFA, they're managing all these leagues that are, all these players are playing each other, managing these leagues. They're pushing data updates, player updates. Neil, if I'm playing you, they have to record that game, so later on we could see who beat who. So that's a lot of data that they've got to store on their own network somewhere. So now imagine all those PlayStations have the Bluzelle decentralized database on there. Now the player is saying, hey, I've got this PlayStation that has way more power than I'm ever going to use. It's got like a terabyte of storage. Why don't I just rent that out? It's unused there to the network. Now EA, the game publisher, says, great, instead of me going to Amazon and storing all our data there and a centralized way, it'll be cheaper and more efficient if we just let the players do it. And so basically they say, we'll pay with a Bluzelle coin to the Bluzelle network, and the players who are gamers who are basically offering their storage space, they're earning some of that money back. So the game publisher, the game maker of FIFA wins because now they don't have all that huge operational costs. The player wins because they're using their PlayStation, which is super powerful, and all that storage space on there. They're able to basically earn some money that subsidizes that $60 game cost.
Now, when I was doing a bit of research on you guys, I read that Bluzelle recently appointed Ethereum core developer and the original creator of Ripple to your advisory board. So can you tell me more about this? And also what value you think they're going to bring to you guys?
Oh, that was really massive to get. So first, it was... So Ryan Fugger, who's the actual original creator of Ripple, the concept and everything, he's actually from Canada, British Columbia, Vancouver, where we are. So, a couple of years ago, we were doing projects with Ripple, and this is after he had basically sold Ripple to the current people. But we just he reached out to us because we're in Vancouver, and we just kind of started chatting. So fast forward now, because of the way he has an overall look of decentralization, democratization of technology, and how payments work, he's kind of really able to look forward ahead of how all these systems could work and interact. So he really provides my CTO a lot of guidance and problem areas that could potentially come and challenges that can come with doing the decentralized storage, database storage. Alex Leverington, he's kind of like, he provides the same thing as Ryan too, but more on a deeper technical level. Because Alex worked at Ethereum, he kind of sees the decentralized internet and his own vision of where it was going to go in the next couple of years, has an overall view of the roadmap technically of how things might be coming together. So he provides a lot of guidance on there where potential challenges we might see, potential use cases we want to adopt. We can bounce it off him, and he can give us feedback of what he went through with Ethereum.
Now, upon reading all that, of course, it just sounded like you were perfectly positioned to launch your own initial coin offering, which I believe you are currently preparing for. But can you tell the listeners what to expect from that, when it's actually going to be launched, and also how the tokens will work?
Yeah, so we are going to be launching it on January 18th, so just a couple weeks from now. We've just started our KYC registration process in the next 2 days. And what the advantage here is, anybody who buys our token, they're going to be able to use the Bluzelle token to use our product, use a Bluzelle protocol where they've got, let's say they're building not just a blockchain app like a dApp, they might be making a mobile game, they might be making a new email newsletter service, who knows what it is. Everything needs a database. So they go, instead of going to Amazon or anybody else, let's use this decentralized model instead. And so to pay for that, they need a Bluzelle coin that goes there, and then all the people on the Bluzelle protocol in the network who are offering their storage space, they're going to be, in my Sony example, they're going to be earning that coin, earning a token back. Overall, the amount of data that's being consumed by applications is growing at an astronomical rate. They're saying in the next 3 years, we're going to have 4 billion in the world connected, 4 billion people, and almost 6 devices for each person.
Wow, that's
so
phenomenal,
24 billion devices. Just look at the simple things of how many apps you have on your phone. All those apps are communicating and sending data to somebody else. So that's where you see the bigger problem. Like, it wasn't just our database for the blockchain problem that we saw. We saw the overall problem was, oh my God, how is all that data going to be managed and stored in a secure manner and be able to get it? And that's when we knew that doing it in a decentralized way would do that. And so then going back to what you're saying about swarming, why you want to apply that is, in a traditional blockchain space, let's just take Bitcoin. You need the entire network to agree that validation, that transaction is legitimate. That's what's causing all those hiccups and slowdowns on the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, if we did that at the same time with a database and said, hey, the entire network has to 100% agree that Neil's data for his email list for all his podcast listeners is correct, you know how long that would take, Neil, for you to go grab that data? It's useless then. You're like, why am I waiting 30 seconds to get my data or a minute? So the whole thing of swarming, which also Ethereum is going to be applying to, is that if you use swarms of computers, and as you think about everything as the whole universe, now you've just got these galaxies. So all we got to do is store that data or shards of that data in a certain swarm, and if they come to consensus quickly and rightly, then that is good enough. You don't need the entire universe to agree, just have the swarm agree. And that's what's going to be the new methodologies.
Absolutely. Now, we did touch on this also at the very beginning of the show. There is a certain element of people just trying to make a fast buck, and the Lambo crowd are not interested in the technology. And as a result of that, there does seem to be a growing suspicion or caution around ICOs with the rise of celebrity endorsements. And by that, I'm talking about highly complex technology projects supported by the likes of Paris Hilton, Jamie Foxx and Floyd Mayweather. I mean, how do you feel about that? And also, as a result, have you found it challenging getting people actually take your project and give it the respect that it deserves?
I don't like that stuff at all. My thing is, this is highly technical stuff.
Yeah.
It's, you just touched on it. Like, buying a cryptocurrency, securing it is very difficult. You need to be educated on this stuff. Yeah. And even in our community channels, where every day we're posting things about multiple times. Don't do this. Beware of phishing scams. Beware this. We've done blog posts around it. And the new people coming in that, like you said, the celebrities bring in is not the right crowd that's going to educate themselves. So that is kind of scary. I mean, for us, it was funny is that when people were pitching that they can get us influencers, this and that, my whole thing is, if I wouldn't click on that or I wouldn't trust it, I'm not going to use it myself. Yeah. Like me as an individual. Like if I saw Paris Hilton or Floyd Mayweather hawking a highly technical product and selling a token, I'd be like, okay, that's a red flag to me. I'm not touching it. So I wouldn't use that for myself. So then going back to your question of us standing out, I don't know. I think for us, what we always focused on since September when we really started going was educate the market on the product. We did we would do meetups on our own. We would go to different cities just doing developer meetups. It was always about the product, the technology. All our blog posts and articles we would write or videos we would do was always around product. So we were always just talking about the product, technology, any moment we got. So I think off of that, we built up a good foundation. And then over the past couple of weeks, our community just absolutely blew up and grew. And I think part of it could have been that when people did searches, they saw, whoa, look at all the team members. These guys it's just not like a 2-week thing. These guys came out of nowhere. They would see a history of months of us doing work and content and be like, wow, these guys have been really at it. So I think it came down to, we're a highly technical product, infrastructure technology that people don't understand or it's hard to grasp. So the fact that we just focused on product was good enough for itself than trying to use some gimmick tactic.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we are living in an age of smoke and mirrors and people hiring influencers to get that message out there. But I also think, I like to think that users are much more technical savvy now and will do that research. I mean, for every company that goes out there and hires a celebrity like Paris Hilton, there are others that don't go down that route, are there? Such as Arc and Lisk are all about the technology and not marketing. So I think you're doing the right thing there, certainly.
Well, I think with that, like all the good ones that I know, and some of these guys, I know they're CEOs in Asia, and I talk to them all the time, and none of them had to rely on anything like that.
Yeah.
And these are some of the top technical ones that raised a good amount of money. They're building great tech. They're going out there and did the same thing, doing the meetups, doing the talks, and these guys are well heralded, right? So none of them did any gimmick style of marketing at all.
So what is your big focus for Bluzelle in 2016? Obviously, we've got the ICO, and could I also ask you to expand on why you think it's a unique time at the moment to build that new internet that is ultimately more efficient and secure for users?
So the why it's critical now is, a great example is look at all these data breaches that are happening. Like Equifax, a highly reputable credit scoring company, gets breached of 200 million records. Then Uber, that is there. And it's interesting is we're at a good time, as you said, is the breaches are there. we're seeing the data explosion happening, and more people want to mine it or generate off of monetized data. A thing I read before. I was watching this interview, or actually it was a podcast with Sam Harris, who had a internet security expert on, and she had mentioned that in the 90s the internet was originally meant for parties, and so they didn't build security into there because it was supposed to be like the blockchain. It was supposed to be trustless. Oh, we know each other. We don't need to put all this security. But then the software and the applications grew so fast, like Microsoft and everybody putting out beta software, and everybody started doing it. It outpaced of them actually putting in the protocol this internet security measures that they needed. So that's why you had that kind of gap. So basically what she said in that podcast was like, we're paying an internet infrastructure debt now with all these breaches and data leaks. So now it's actually an opportune time with blockchain prevalence. And I think the fact that companies like us and others, whether it's Golem or Orchid doing their, a decentralized VPN, all these companies, like, we have the funding or the opportunity to actually fix this all and get going on it without having to go through the traditional methods.
Now, before I let you go, can I just ask that you point the listeners in the direction of how they can actually follow the progress of your ICO, get involved, and equally contact your team, get involved with your community, and just if they've got any questions about our conversation today? Yeah,
the big community group of ours is Telegram. So that's just, if they go to, if they have the app Telegram, they can just look up Bluzelle. It's on there. Right now there's a lot of things around the ICO and the tokens that they like to ask about. So I would, if they want to go more on the product, they can go to our Slack page, which is, bluzelle.com/Slack. That's more about the developers, technology, and that's how we kind of separated it. And then going to our website and just joining the general email list where we give the product updates. Those are probably the best. So you've got kind of the separate groups right there.
Fantastic. Well, a huge thank you for coming on the show today. I think this space in particular is often portrayed in the media for the world of Lambos and celebrity endorsements, but I love the way you're approaching it here. And like you say, it's paying that infrastructure debt, but ultimately building great technology for the future. So I wish you the best of luck with the ICO, and a big thank you for coming on today.
Thanks, Neil. I really appreciate this.
We really are living in incredibly exciting times at the moment. And like I said at the beginning of the show, we're removing those friction and pain points and paying off that infrastructure debt. I love that line that Pavel used there. And ultimately making the world more efficient, but also more secure for everyone. And like I also said at the beginning of the show there, it does concern me that many are blindly investing into celeb-based ICOs, not investing the time to understand the technology. And I think that could be quite dangerous. If you have people that are parting with their money in this world and they're unaware of scams, phishing attempts and fraud attempts, they could quickly get themselves into trouble. And that's why I think it's my responsibility as a podcaster, it's Pavel's responsibility as somebody working in that industry, and also your responsibility as a listener when you hear somebody jumping on the next big thing, that they should maybe take a moment to understand the technology. And these are just a few reasons why I think it's so important to demystify blockchain technology, educate people, and bring everyone along for the ride. And I love how Bluzelle are putting the technology first and building a model with the right backers, the right advisors and partners to ensure that long-term growth. Something where everyone is a believer in that vision, and so we can all be part of building that decentralized internet. I think it's a great example of how to go about things the right way, by moving away from influencers and celebrity backers and letting the technology speak for itself. So for those reasons alone, I'll continue to follow this project very closely. And as for everyone listening, do you have a blockchain or crypto project that you're really passionate about too? And because of that, you want to share it with us? Or do you have a few bad examples that spring to mind that you would like to warn us about? And also, if you have any questions about blockchain that you would like us to answer, or a problem that you would like us to tackle on this show, please let me know. I've tried to make it as easy as possible for each and every one of you. So you can simply record an audio message for me, which we can then play on the show over at techblogwriter.co.uk/podcast. And you'll also find every episode we've recorded over there. You can email me at techblogwriter@outlook.com. And of course, you can, if you need me quickly, you can catch me on Twitter at Neil C. Hughes. Now, I genuinely love hearing from you all, so please get in touch and let me know your thoughts, your questions, your insights. But I'm afraid we're reaching the end of today's episode, so a So a big thank you to Pavel for taking the time to record the show today. Due to time differences, I think it was around midnight that he stayed up for me to speak with him. So I really appreciate him taking the time to share his story today. And an even bigger thank you, of course, for you guys listening, because without you listening, whether it be the soundtrack to your commute, your morning run, gym session, or just walking the dog, I really do appreciate you having me along for the ride too. But it's time for me to catch up on my podcast too now, because I don't just host these things, I also listen to a fair few too. So I'll be back tomorrow, but until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.